Susie is her name, who is an EMT, and on the ambulance run really works a lot of hours. She really works a lot of hours. And we were talking about carbon monoxide, CO2, and this is the thing about carbon monoxide, it's colorless and it's odorless. And so these emission things that you smell when a diesel truck comes by, or a big truck comes by, or a bus, you're not smelling carbon monoxide. You're smelling the effects of the combustion engine. You're not other gases, other things. All right, but anyway, the diesel fuel or whatever. All right, now right here, the combining of CO, that's carbon monoxide, and hemoglobin, look at this, is over 200 times as tenacious. It's like the big kid and the little kid playing basketball out in the street. The big kid can, if he's got any ability at all now, like the guy I played with when we were little boys, my cousins and I, three of us, had played this old, and he was a friend of ours. His name was Alton Adams. And he was so much taller and bigger than us that, and a good basketball player, went on to TCU, who's number 3 in the nation in football right now. He went on to TCU and played basketball. Helped lead Milby. Any of you go to Milby High School? Anybody in here go to Milby? Milby still exists, doesn't it? Yeah. He helped carry Milby to the state championship many years ago. But anyway, when we play him in the street, just play basketball, a little court there out in the street, in the yard or wherever, he would always win. That's the way carbon monoxide is. Combining carbon monoxide and hemoglobin is over 200 times as tenacious as the combination of oxygen and hemoglobin. And so, in a concentration as small as 0.1% PCO, 5% that would be the PCO would be about 0.5 milligrams of mercury. Carbon monoxide will combine with half the hemoglobin. God, look at that, y'all. When it's just that low, in a concentration as small as 0.1%, carbon monoxide will combine with half the hemoglobin molecules. And now, what would happen to the tissues? They would become hypoxic very quickly. They would come starved for oxygen, and a person may be passing out, probably would be passing out. Carbon monoxide poisoning may be treated by administering pure oxygen. Any of you ever seen some? This guy I roomed with one time, he and I, it was on 8th Street in Waco. And he's the fellow I told you about that went to med school. He actually, unfortunately, died of leukemia. In fact, there was an actress this weekend. She was in her 60s. She died. What was her name? Come on, tell me. She was. Come on. What was her name? She was Jan.
Cleaver.
Who?
Is it Cleaver?
Jan Cleaver? No. She died from leukemia this weekend.
Jill Clayburgh.
Jill Clayburgh, thank you so much. Sometimes I read these stories over the weekend, I'm up on them, I get up here talking to you, and sometimes some of these names, like that, Jill Clayburgh, she was 66 years old, she had been suffering from leukemia for quite a while. It did clear this weekend. My roommate, Hayne, he was a Dutch guy, I told you about him one time, didn't I? Hayne Terporten. Hayne, super nice guy, spoke about 4 languages. Oh, he was, but anyway, he and I, we rented this old house in 8th Street, and I had a corner bedroom, he had a bedroom up front somewhere in this old house, and had old space heaters in it. I never will forget this. And it was real cold, cold, this old space heater. I had a space heater going in the bedroom where I was sleeping, and I remember waking up really, really groggy. I could hardly even get out of bed. And I think probably I didn't have to get treated or anything, but I think it was carbon monoxide. He said, "Lou, you better open some of those windows back there. That's probably some carbon monoxide making you feel." So of course it would get real cold up there. But carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless gas, and carbon monoxide may be poisoning, may be treated by administering intubating pure oxygen. And Susie tells me that they deal with, in the EMT stuff, a lot of chronic obstructive COPD patients, a lot of COPD people. A lot of that, they deal with a lot of diabetes, type 2 diabetes, people going into ketoacidosis, things like that. All right, so administering pure oxygen. But there you have that. Now, I just want to mention this to you real quickly. Does anybody have a question over that transport? You think you can get it? Think you can get the transport of oxygen, CO2 and oxygen? All right, now this stuff right here is not hard. This is kind of like, right, just kind of reading some fluff stuff. This is not too hard. The respiratory center, I always think about John Kennedy. John F. Kennedy. When John F. Kennedy was shot, I told you I was reading some stuff on that. He had severe back problems. And the day that he was shot, November the 22nd, 1963, I have a granddaughter. She'll be 7 years old. She was born the same day, of course many, many years later, the same day Kennedy was assassinated. Her birthday is November the 22nd, 2000 something, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. But John Kennedy was assassinated November the 22nd, 1963. Now, one of the stories was, Brett, one of the things I read about this, he was in a back brace. He had severe problems with his back. If I tell you the story about why he had problems this time, you'd laugh. But he had severe problems with his back, and he hurt. The first shot did not kill him. The first shot either missed him or came by. He heard the first shot. The first shot didn't do the job. The story goes, if he could have done this in the limousine, if he could have done this, he was sitting in there, and if he was sitting up like this, and his back in a stiff, very stiff brace, if he could have done this, that next shot might have missed him. You know, that's just one of the theories, one of the things. So, but for sure he was wearing a brace, because he couldn't, his back was not good. But, now, the thing about it is, that bullet that did hit him, it blew the back of his head out. There's no way he could have survived. Abraham Lincoln could have probably survived in modern times. Stories I've read about in modern neuroscience, when John Wilkes Booth shot him back here, the bullet lodged behind, shot him right here, and lodged behind his left eye. They didn't know what they were doing in 1865. They went in there probing around to retrieve the bullet. And as they did, they just tore everything out. Now, he may have been a vegetable, but the modern neuroscience thinks that there have been some stories about that Abraham Lincoln possibly could have lived, possibly, because that bullet went in, and you know, and they did more damage going in with long forceps type things trying to retrieve the bullet. They left it alone. But anyway, John Kennedy, though, when that bullet, the respiratory, the cardio accelerator, cardio inhibitory, and the respiratory center, the main respiratory center, are in the medulla oblongata. So right here we have the respiratory center, and okay, the medullary rhythmicity in the medulla, the pneumotaxic in the pons, and the apneustic. Pons and medulla are part of the brainstem. That's part of the brainstem. And it blew away his brainstem. Blew away his brain, you know, just totally knocked that out. Blew it away. And he never knew what he never knew what he did. Never. And so right here now, all we do, that's out of your book. That just tells you, there's the midbrain, there's the pons, there's the medulla, pneumotaxic. The pneumotaxic helps us do this. Prolong inspiration. But you can prolong inspiration just so long, and then it's got to come out. The Herring-Brewer reflex. There's no way you and I can inhale until our lungs explode. There's no way. It ain't going to happen, Gene. We can't do that. There's some cutoffs. There's some cutoff things that will make us exhale. We can't do it. So right here, pneumotaxic and apneustic. These are backup areas of respiration. The main respiratory area is in the medulla. That's where inspiratory and expiratory. In the medulla oblongata, and there's a spinal cord down there. What part of the brain is this right here? What part of the brain is that? Cerebellum. Cerebellum. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So there's